It's the night of the twins' next match, and this time their father has made the journey to see them.
ทำให้พ่อรู้ว่าหนูเก่งแค่ไหนและทำเพื่อพ่อมากแค่ไหนค่ะหนูก็เลยจะต้องให้ชนะ
ไปแวกออกมาแล้วก็ต่อยพยายามยืนหันหลังให้ฝ่ายตรงข้ามหันหน้ามาทางที่เลี้ยงนี่วันนี้ไม่มีด่าหรอกด่าเมื่อตอนซ้อมแค่นั้นเนี่ยทำให้ดีที่สุดครับ
December 5th marks the Thai King's birthday, a day celebrated as Father's Day. It's a day made more significant for the twins as they fight in front of their dad for the kingdom's top Muay Thai titles. It's a hard-fought battle for Bew, but amidst cheers from the crowd, she's sure she's won her match. This time, however, victory isn't hers. This is a night when nothing's been more important than doing their father proud. The money that Bew holds in her hands at last fails to hold much meaning.
เราตามที่ฝึกมาเลยนะอย่าห้ามเหมือนงี้ไม่เอานะไม่ได้ยก3ไม่เข้าไม่ได้เลยละเสีย1 2 1นิชานิ่งได้2นี่ไวหน่อย3นี่เข้าเลยคือว่า
เสียใจนิดหน่อยก็เพราะว่าแพ้ไม่รู้แบบนี้แล้วที่จริงเขาต้องชนะคนดูเขาก็รู้ว่าต้องชนะใช่ไหมคะแล้วมาแพ้อย่างนี้ก็รู้สึกน้อยใจค่ะก็จะต่อยให้ชนะค่ะต่อยให้ชนะแก้แค้นแทนน้อง
ยอด โอ้โหเชียร์สุดขีดเลยเสียงแห้งเลยโอ้โหคอแหบเลย
เยอะอย่างเงี้ยอาจารย์ไปทำอะไรบ้างก็แบ่งมาให้ญาติแล้วก็ฝากธนาคาร
แล้วเด็กพวกนี้จะดีอย่างหนึ่งคือเขามีน้ำใจนักกีฬาแพ้คือแพ้ชนะคือชนะแล้วค่อยว่ากันใหม่ในครั้งต่อไปเรื่องใจเขาไม่ต้องห่วง
All too soon, the smiles melt away. The time has come yet again to say goodbye.
ก็เหนื่อยค่ะแต่ไม่ท้อค่ะเพราะว่าหนูก็ชอบอยู่แล้วใช่ไหมคะแล้วที่หนูจะสู้ก็เพราะว่าหนูทำเพื่อครอบครัวค่ะเพราะครอบครัวหนูมีฐานะยากจนหนูก็เลยจะหาเงินส่งตัวเองเรียนค่ะก็เลยตั้งใจจะคืนดีคอยพูดกันพันผ่อนเถิดนะคุณยันหุ่นชุนเชียว It's the start of yet another day of rigorous training for the boxing twins. As I watch the girls run barefoot on the country road, I remember they're only just children dealt a rough hand in life. And Muay Thai to them is just a simple matter, one of fighting for a chance, one day at a time.
Incredibly difficult to watch those young kids, and the study showed that there's 8,000 of them in Thailand who are fighting the Muay Thai, many of them, as the study said, subjected to potential injury, brain injury, stunted growth, endangering, obviously, the lives of these children.
Well, there were a couple of things that struck me when I watched it. I wasn't terribly offended by the boxing itself, because there are a lot of sports where children have to start young. This is a national sport. It's a point of pride in Thailand. What was most disturbing, though, was the potential for manipulation of these children, right? Poor children, children from broken homes who need the money. The gambling, you know, it didn't really research so much into the gambling, but when the narrator said, you know, there's gambling that goes on, I thought then it makes these children even more open to exploitation. So what they're calling for now, the problem with this is that you have these young children who are not subject to any rules. They're outside of the law. So there's nobody saying you have to have the protective gear on. You're going to work more on your fancy footwork than you are on pummeling your partner, your sparring partner. So these are the things that are missing for these children, a high degree of standard. It may not be in essence the boxing itself, but the regulations around it for these children who fall outside of the law.
Yeah, I mean, I was offended, actually. I mean, Muay Thai boxing for adults, fine. This is for kids. Even in Thailand, it's illegal to have kids fighting in rings like that. To see those young...
Well, 15 is a legal age. They're clearly underage.
Yeah, they're clearly underage. So to me, that, you know, they're... But the key thing here is, of course they're fighting because they're poor, they're wanting their education, they're all, the father's in an intractable situation, you know, we don't want to be too presumptuous and judge. But the bottom line is, as the United Nations has called countless times for rights for children, the right to grow up, to have an education, the right to be free, the right to have good health, the right not to have an empty fridge, and clearly this is not happening. And of course, the real accountability falls on the Thai government here. The Thai government knows about this. The Thai government has investigated, but they're clearly not cracking down on it. And that is the outrage of a piece like that.
But do they do it by quitting the boxing ring and saying, okay, there will be no more fighting for these children? Or do they say, okay, let's recognize that this is a reality. Some of these children enjoy it. Let's make this a proper environment for kids.
Yeah,
so they're not,
one's
not held over the head of a child, right? You'll be able to get your food, you'll be able to get your education. competition as long as you make your rewards and contribute to the boxing camp. Well, that's the problem with it.
Yeah,
right?
Although you need a baseline. I mean, this is the great debate about rights. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a complicated thing, but once you say, well, you know what, we understand this is the reality, let's just make it safer, or you just drop a basic right that is inviolable, that you just say, you know what, no, you cannot have kids under the age of 15 fighting for money, fighting for their education.
Well, they're not supposed to be fighting for money.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you don't, it's not about safer practice for them. It's like, that's it. The society has to make a decision on that thing, on those kind of issues, and you can't accommodate that. And that's, I guess, the question. Should the Thai government just fully ban it? Now, of course, that is the question. What happens to, if it's banned, what happens to these young women? But that's where the government has to be, its feet has to be held to the fire, either by the international community or by their own citizens. And that's what, these are the great struggles of poverty.
Yeah, I wasn't as offended, as I say, by the fighting, but by the manipulation around these children, because, as I say, they fall outside the law. And when they fall outside the law, they don't get compensation if they are injured, which they undoubtedly are. They don't, they aren't, you know, their safety is not covered, you know, by when they're held to manipulation. So those are the things that are going on in the country. And when they fall outside of the law, there is a call, in fact, for some of the people to be, some of the rules to drop the age of fighting to 12, so that they can regulate for these children. It can be a fun sport, much like a fun sport would happen in any country in the world.
Yeah, but that ain't fun. And most sports.
You don't think so? When Bew said, "I enjoy fighting,"
it's not,
she goes, "I enjoy."
Even those rules are way beyond the pay.
Even for kids,
even for kids for mixed martial arts and martial arts that are happening in Canada, it's not that level. It's not that kind of competition.
But listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying so that once they're regulated and you say, okay, kids can have these competitions, not unlike karate competitions in Canada.
Sure. Yeah. That.
And so they're safe, and everybody's monitoring them, and there are rules that must be adhered to.
Two things I just want to mention, because we heard a lot about these kids. Each child boxer earns between 50 and 600 baht, which is the Thai currency, which is about $1 to $18 Canadian if they win a fight, half of which goes to the boxing camp. So they really are, it's a subsistence existence. And one other thing that the UN has called a plan for action, an action plan called A World Fit for Children, and this coming up week they're going to have a report about the status of children around the world. I don't know, because it's embargoed still, if they're going to include what we just saw, the case for the children boxing in Thailand, but you get a sense that children all over the world have a real struggle for their rights, and the right to have an education, the right to play, and all those fundamental rights.
Yeah, and many people do, all over, women, men, children. We are very lucky in Canada.